Hello, everyone. Cheree Warrick here. I am so proud that we are doing our inaugural issue of the Blockchain Stock Report magazine. We have a special guest here today. You may know her as Dr. Vaneesha Dutra. We call her Dr. V. Welcome to the Blockchain Stock Report group.
Thank you, Cheree. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, we're talking about asset allocation, and Garen and I both agreed that there would be no better person to invite to talk about that than you. So, with that, let's just dive right in. Before we talk about stock allocation, I want to talk about overall allocation and how we should think about our investment portfolio overall. And I was hoping you could give the families just some ideas of what to think about and how to set that up.
Absolutely. So when we talk about allocating capital, the first thing to understand is that most households, Cheree, have a limited amount of capital to actually allocate, right? So we have to learn how to efficiently make decisions on where to put that capital so that it works to our benefit, right? So it works the hardest for us. Most of us are saving for retirement or for sometimes a short-term goal or a longer-term goal, but primarily for retirement. And this is an area where we lack a great deal of information. So I'm glad you're doing this segment. So when we talk about allocation, it's just simply taking capital, hard-earned money, and making efficient decisions on where to put that capital. And there's a way to do that, and we use the term diversification. Most of you are probably familiar with that term, but when I ask the average person, when I meet with clients or I meet with people that I'm just giving general advice to, I say, well, have you heard the term diversification? They'll say, yeah. I'll say, well, tell me what it means to you. And then you get the deer in the headlight, or they don't quite understand what it is. So let me just briefly start there, Cheree, if you will. Let me explain.
Sure.
So again, diversification is a process by which you efficiently choose between a variety of assets. So you're putting together a portfolio, an investment portfolio. I think we all understand that you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket. So you say you have $10,000. Should I go buy $10,000 worth of Apple? This is the question I often get. Should I buy $10,000 worth of Apple? I know what Apple is. My kids have Apple. I have a Mac. Or should I put, all that money in Exxon Mobil? And the answer is generally no, right? Because if something happens to adversely affect the operations of Apple or Exxon, say oil prices go down, then all of your portfolio is negatively impacted, right? Everything is going to fall. So the purpose of diversifying is to make sure that you hold assets in a portfolio that move against each other. When one is going down, another is going up. And the ultimate effect is to minimize the risk of any one particular asset having a negative move and ultimately maximizing return. So again, diversification is simply optimally choosing between assets to form a portfolio that simultaneously minimizes risk, Cheree, and also maximizes return. So that's what diversification should do for us. And there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here and
okay.
Bring it back and make it more tangible for people. So let's say that I have a W-2. I work, and on the 15th and the 30th, I get paid.
Yes.
And let's say after I pay my mortgage and all of that, I have, let's say $600 left over.
Sure.
Doing okay, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about allocating that $600, everything from an emergency fund to stocks to, do I put money on the side in a wealth account? I know I'm putting you on the spot here. We really didn't talk about this before, but I think let's create something tangible here. A person's got $600 twice a month, maybe $1,200 total. Well, let's make it more realistic for our people. Let's say $600 total.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay.
let's say they have $600 total that they can put into wealth building. Exactly. How does diversification look then?
Okay, that's an excellent question, and I don't feel on the spot at all. I get this question all the time. First and foremost, Cheree, cash is king. I mean, this is not only my personal belief, but I think we've seen enough in recent history with the financial crisis and the housing crisis, all of these crises we've seen, excuse me, to know that if you don't have any cash, your stock portfolio can go down in worth, your house can go down in worth, but it's cash that's going to get you through from day to day. So the first piece of advice I give our people, straight up and down, all day, all night, Cheree, is make sure you have emergency funds set aside. Okay. And for many of us, as you know, that takes sacrifice because unfortunately, African Americans, minorities, we tend to have a more consumeristic mentality. We tend to consume, we tend to be the consumer base instead of the investor base, instead of the business production base. And that mentality has to change. So the first thing I advise people to do, Cheree, is to save money in cash. You should have an emergency fund. And what should that emergency fund look like? When you read general textbooks or financial planning books, you'll hear things all across the board. I've heard 3 months, up to 6 months. Listen, I tend to err on being more conservative than not, because in the era of home ownership, car repairs, or natural disasters, we see that if you're bringing home if you have extra, let's say your monthly expenses maybe $2,000 a month. I don't know, that may be too low. 3 months, $6,000. I mean, if you have to replace an engine on a car, that's half your money gone. Let a natural disaster come across and you have to put down a deductible on your house. That could be $1,500. I mean, it's very easy for 3 months to be consumed and you're left on the edge of being destitute. Okay, so I am of the personal opinion that you should have at least a year, and unless you are, highly skilled and you lose your job. We see that people have been out of the job market for months. Unless you are highly skilled in a field that is in high demand, expect that it could take you months to gain not just some employment, but I'm talking full employment. So there's a difference between just picking up a job where you're earning something and replacing your old income. So I'm of the opinion that you should have 12 months of income set aside. Now, once you do that, you can then start to think about growing a personal investment portfolio. Now, let me put an asterisk there. If you are employed by someone that is matching your retirement contributions, if you can at all afford it, you should at least, at a minimum, whether you have a whole bunch of cash, that 12-month reserve that I'm speaking of set aside or not, you should absolutely be putting at least the amount that they will match 100% or whatever. If they match 50 cents on the dollar, most employers that I've seen will give you dollar for dollar up to a certain amount of your income. I mean, that's just free money. That's just free money you're walking away from. So when we talk about $600 a month in extra income, one, Cheree, make sure you have your emergency cash aside. My personal opinion is 12 months. Do what you can.
Yeah.
Two, you should be looking to your 401k or your employer-based retirement contribution account and find out if they are matching. If there is a matching pool through your employer, at a minimum, if they're going to match dollar for dollar, if you put it up to 4%, without a doubt, you should be contributing at least that 4%, because otherwise you're walking away from 100%.
A lot of money.
You're walking away from free money. Now, it may take you time to get fully vested, but if you're going to be there, you're still walking away from cash. Yeah. And then beyond that, once you build your own personal portfolio, so now you have money set aside in cash. You're investing in your 401k and you say, Cheree or Dr. V, I want to do something different. I want to do something above and beyond that. Well, then you want to look at holding assets in a portfolio that match, one, your risk tolerance. Okay, not everybody has the same belief around risk. Some people like very risky stocks, which will offer a higher return. Some people say, I can't stomach the volatility of very risky stocks, so I need to be in something more conservative. So figure out what your risk tolerance is, and then use programs that help you determine the most efficient way to allocate those capital amongst various security or investment options for you, whether that be equity, stocks, or bonds, or other things of that nature.
Great, great. So
That was a
you,
long-winded answer. Hopefully I put it all in there though.
no, I love it. And I will say one thing. I'll piggyback off of you and say whatever you focus on, you get. So some people may
Yes.
hyperventilate and think, oh my goodness, if my living expenses are $2,000 a month, like you use, that means I have to get $24,000. How could I ever do that with $600 a month set aside? The truth is, whatever you focus on, you get.
That's exactly right.
And you may be surprised. I will tell you, I think we're going to go a little bit longer here, but that's
Fine.
okay.
That's
I will
fine.
tell you that the scariest time in my life was when I was making money, but I was spending it like a consumer.
Yes.
And I had like a $500 or $600 car repair that needed to happen, and I couldn't fund that. Like you go in because it's got to be done. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Why am I not able to pull $500 out and give it to the mechanic to fix my car so I could get to work and do what I have to do?
Sure.
And I think when you have those scary moments like that, you begin to think about your money a lot differently. And all of a sudden, some of the things that we think we want to spend money on, we discover maybe is not as important as we thought it would be.
Cheree, that's an excellent point. And I'm sure you speak to people every day. I certainly do. And when I sit down and look at their finances and I get that exact question, Dr. V, how am I going to do this? At the end of the day, I think I have $200-300 left over, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And I say, well, let's pull out a bank statement. Pull out a bank statement and let's just write stuff down. We're not even going to get scientific here and start looking at algorithms and all these theories and formulas. Let's just look at what you're doing with your money from day to day. And Cheree, let me tell you, it always shocks the people that I'm talking to. And they're like, I spent $100 in the past 2 weeks on coffees.
Mm-hmm.
I spent I spent $120 on lunch.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. I've spent, X, Y, and Z on, movies and entertainment, and I bought 6 pairs of shoes, and I did this, and you add up the numbers, Cheree, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's hundreds upon hundreds, and I've worked with people where it's thousands of dollars. And when you have that consumer, here's the danger of having that consumer attitude. When you're so used to consuming, you're numb to it.
Yeah.
You don't even realize, you're just so used to doing it. You're programmed to doing it that you don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So something gives you pause, like you just said, to make you think about what you're doing and what you don't have, and what the opportunity cost is for consuming at the level that you do. So I would caution everyone who starts with a negativity or starts with a negative to turn that into an affirmative. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's how you get things done. Let's talk about what you can do. Let's look at what you're doing and how you can change your mindset and reallocate funds that are not getting you anywhere to put them into things that will actually yield you some return or some benefit for you and your family down the line. The long and short is, very rarely do I work with people that don't have some means of starting to save when you look at what they're doing with their money on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So I'll tell another personal story. Years ago, I made like $19,000 in the specific year, like broke. And I saved more money that year than like most other years. And what I did was a very simple method. I was getting paid like every other week, I think it was. And I would go on my paydays to the ATM and I would pull out a certain amount of money. And I would use that money for gas, groceries, like stuff you can go crazy on.
Sure.
And I will tell you, that method, I called it the envelope method, that method saved me so much money. I looked at that point and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how much money I have in the bank. But it was because I like literally had the rule, if I didn't have the cash for it,
you weren't going to spend it.
Wouldn't spend it.
And that's the danger of credit, all right? Because you get so accustomed to kicking the can down the road. You get so accustomed saying, I'll deal with this bill later on. That instant gratification Listen, you pay now or you pay later. That's the long and short. You consume now, you will work for the rest of your life. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think sometimes you have to make it very, very plain. You know, you talk to the average person, they don't like what they do. They don't like getting up, going to work. They can't stand it. It gives them headaches. They're depressed. They're tired. I said, well, guess what? This will be your life until you die.
Mm-hmm.
You don't change something. And, you know, I get people that, you know, sit back in their seat and they look at me, but it's the reality. So sometimes you need that reality check. So that's why I'm so glad you're doing this, Cheree.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that reality check, that if you keep consuming and putting money, when you consume, you're putting money in someone else's pocket. You need to think, when is this coming back to me and how is this going to come back to me? And it won't unless you learn to invest efficiently and effectively.
Right. So then let's get back to stocks, which is the point of us being here today, and talk a little bit more about stock allocation.
Absolutely.
And some of the best tools that we can use in order to determine for our asset allocation, I guess on a spectrum, like how aggressive we should be or how risk averse we should be.
Well, let me first say that there is, again, naive diversification and optimal diversification. Naive diversification just says, hey, I know I need to hold more than one stock, so let me just choose 5 stocks, 6 stocks, and that should help me. Now, in general, if you look at it at a very, very, very basic level, that might be the case to some degree, but that's still very naive, because what you have to do is look at correlations. There's a lot of, advanced mathematics that go into efficient diversification. And there are some tools you can use online, one, or two, many of us outsource that work. We outsource that work by buying shares of a mutual fund, or by buying shares of buying ETFs, right? And all this are ready-made portfolios for you, managed by someone who should have the information and the resources available to him or her, to efficiently allocate capital on your behalf. So many of us just do that, okay? But even before that, to answer your question, to back up a little bit, you do need to understand what's called your risk tolerance, right? So everyone has a different stomach for risk. I have a number of friends that love cryptocurrency right now. I mean, it's a hot space right now. There's a significant opportunity for significant returns, rapid, and in a fast manner. And that's attractive to some people, but that's attractive to a certain type of investor. That may not attract all. So you have to understand your specific tolerance for risk, your specific stomach for risk. And there are tools out there, one of which you can visit Vanguard. Vanguard is a very popular, well-known, and I'm not promoting them or anything. This is a resource I give to people because it's readily available. It's free. Vanguard Mutual Funds has a quick survey. I think it's about 12 questions, Cheree, that you can go on their website. Just Google Vanguard Risk Tolerance Test. Vanguard Risk Tolerance Test. It'll pop up. There's about 12 questions that they'll ask you to give you an idea of how you feel about risk and what type of assets you should invest in given your tolerance for risk. That's the first place to start, because you can say, I want to make money, but if as a financial advisor, as someone that has a fiduciary responsibility to manage funds for you or give you advice, it's not prudent for me to tell you to invest in asset A if it does not meet your risk tolerance. That is in significant violation of what I am supposed to do or what your investment advisor is supposed to do. So you need to understand your risk tolerance. And going to that website is a great place to start. Vanguard Risk Tolerance.
Great. So the final thing I'll end on, and then I'll let you respond, is that Garen and I often or always tell people that you can make money from the blockchain technology and never invest in crypto. And you can do that through stocks that are investing on both the supplier side and the user side of the blockchain. And the cryptocurrencies is kind of like in the middle, or these blockchain crypto companies are in the centerpiece of that. So, with that, I believe that the world is changing, and I was speaking with some blockchain consultants about this last night. I said to them, look, In 5 years, you may not be able to drive Uber in order to make extra money. They're turning McDonald's into single employee McDonald's. You know, the world is changing.
It's changing, yes.
Yeah, if we don't have the skills and if we don't have the resources to handle that change, we as a people are going to be left further behind than we are now.
Absolutely.
So I would love, final comments about that before I let you go here.
Okay, no problem. I couldn't agree with you more, Cheree. The problem with being, and again, I don't want to keep harping on this, but it is so critical that we change this mindset, because without changing this mindset, we'll never learn about the blockchain or the world that's happening around us every day, because we're too busy getting money and then figuring out how we can spend it, right? So you have to get away from this consumer attitude and pay attention to what's happening in the world. I'm not saying stay tuned into TV, because a lot of this stuff is crap, but Cheree is 100% right. I mean, the blockchain, I believe, is real. It is real. It is going to transform how we, just like the internet, it is going to transform how we shop, I believe, how we vote, how we do healthcare. It has the potential to impact everything we touch. And so you don't necessarily have to invest in crypto. Maybe that's not your thing, but there are other ways to invest in the blockchain. How do you know that? Well, by tuning into people who are knowledgeable. Watching Housewives of XYZ City is not going to get you there. Okay, sure. You're killing time. You're killing your brain cells, quite frankly. But, okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox for a second, Cheree, because that stuff burns me up. But you're right. So tuning into what Cheree is doing, what Garen is doing, just wrapping yourself around anyone that's giving information that's credible. That's key. Credible information geared toward our people, because not everybody has our best interest at heart. So make sure you pay attention to that as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're right. Just the world is happening around you. The world is moving around you. Stay informed. Stay woke.
Absolutely. So
and leave your credit cards and your wallet at home when you go out.
Yeah. Everything you're saying, I absolutely agree with. Or if you're going to spend money on something, be just intentional about it. Saying, say, I've saved up my emergency fund and I've done the right thing. So if you want to take a trip to Hawaii, aloha.
Right.
Because you should enjoy your life as well. We're definitely not saying don't enjoy your life.
No, exactly.
Make sure you have a balance there.
Yes.
So with that, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today for our inaugural issue.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the Blockchain Stock Research Group. And I just want to say to everybody, we will see you either at some of the Think or Swim trainings or our bi-weekly research group meetups that we have. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a blessed day.
Take care, everyone.